Hello, Q&A cuties, and welcome back to today's episode of the Q&A podcast. I'm Mel.
And I'm Kevin.
And today we have a very special guest named Chantylle. Hello, Chantylle. Hi.
Hi, guys.
All right, Chantylle. Who are you? Where are you from? How do you know us?
Okay, well, I am Chantylle. I'm from Orange County, and I know Kevin since preschool. And we actually became friends in kindergarten, so lifelong friendship now. Still friends sometimes when I don't find him annoying. Sorry. And then I met Mel through Valorant, through Kevin as well. So I guess we owe Kevin our friendship too. So
That's
But yeah,
true,
I
I
love it.
guess. Thanks, Kevin,
Yeah.
I guess.
but like we can do it
Of
without him
course.
now. So
Yeah, that's true.
Never.
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 So we're glad to have you here, Chantylle, especially because you had asked that question before
Oh, no,
regarding
I
languages
forgot.
and specifically code switching. And we want to get your thoughts and insight on it as well. So to begin with, I guess, what languages were you exposed to growing up?
I'm Filipino, so I grew up with being exposed to Tagalog from my dad's side, and my mom is from Cebu, so she speaks Bisayat, and I know more Bisayat words than Tagalog. So whenever I talk to other Filipinos, they're like, "Oh, do you know this word?" I'm like, "No, sorry," but then I do the flex. I'm like, "I know Bisayat though," so it's kind of harder, but also English, obviously, because I was born here, I grew up here. I live in Orange County, so it's mostly white. Grew up in a school majority white. So, like I said, English, Tagalog, and Bisayat mostly. But yeah.
Okay. And what about you, Mel?
I kind of pretty similar to Chantylle. Grew up hearing a mix of Tagalog and Pangasinan, which is another language from the Philippines, and pretty much same thing. Like I understood and internalized more Pangasinan, so when people would try to speak to me in Tagalog, I'm like, I know what that means in a different one. But yeah, English, Tagalog, and Pangasinan for the most part. Yeah. What about you, Kevin?
Okay. So we're Chinese, but my parents grew up in the Philippines, right? So they did speak Hokkien, which is similar to Taiwanese, Tagalog, of course, English, and then some Mandarin. But growing up, my parents would mix Hokkien and Tagalog a lot, so I'd get confused what was a word in Tagalog versus in Chinese, and so like it was very confusing. But yeah, those four, I guess.
That's so interesting because I feel like I've never met anyone that would confuse like any Chinese language with Tagalog, because to me they sound like pretty different. But I mean, I bet if you grew up like hearing them together, then yeah,
It's so confusing. Yeah. Yeah.
On that note, though, were you able to pick up a lot of it growing up and stuff?
I don't know about you two, but there was some words and phrases that like you will pick up as you grow up. But so I'm the youngest, and my brother is older by 6 years. And when he was going to preschool, because we all were born and raised in the U.S., he was learning all three languages like Hokkien, Tagalog, and English, and mixing them all in one sentence. And the preschool teacher was like, he needs to know English if he wants to attend here. And so basically, like, they completely stopped like teaching, and none of us like ever learned any of the other languages, unfortunately. All because of that one preschool teacher that was like, you need to know English. Otherwise, we probably would be speaking it today. But I know more Mandarin than Tagalog or Hokkien now, just because that's what I took growing up in high school. What about you two?
I don't really practice Tagalog at home because my mom speaks English to me. But I want to go back into like learning more Bisayat words just because she's more comfortable talking to me about it. And I know more phrases, so I'm telling her to like speak Bisayat to me at home just so I can practice. And then, because I'm gonna go to the Philippines soon, and I want to be able to communicate with people there. Because my mom was telling me that they don't want to talk to me because they're like scared that they don't say the English words like correctly. But I'm like, I'm nice. Like I will try to understand. I like know context too, so I'm like I can kind of understand what you're saying. But yeah, I wish I spoke more like Tagalog or Bisayat at home.
No, that's so sad though. Like I same here too, because I remember when I went back in 2011, they were like, you should learn a little bit more Tagalog, but also they're gonna try to speak to you in English, and I'm like,
Yeah.
no, yeah, like let's just be in the middle. Like I don't,
Yeah.
like no pressure on either side, you know. But yeah, so for me, I was able to like at a good level understand Pangasinan, but I was never able to speak it until recently during the pandemic when I moved back home. I kind of chose to put in like active work to learn Pangasinan since I was like, I'm back with my parents, so might as well practice it a lot more. And so now, after about a year of really trying, I can kind of confidently say that am a little like I'm close to fluent. I'm not all the way there, but I did take Tagalog in college though, but that was kind of a train wreck because my professor would ask me questions and I would respond in Pangasinan. And she'd be like, "What are you saying? I have no idea what that is." I was like, "That's not Tagalog." Wait, what? Like it was really bad, and it sounds so different now that I'm more aware of it. But I bet I sounded crazy to the other students in the class. They're like, "Fuck, like we did not learn that." But yeah, so definitely way higher in Pangasinan in terms of picking it up and stuff.
Can I ask, was that like a class? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Was
Go
that
ahead.
like an actual credit class that you took
It was,
for
yeah,
college?
yeah. Oh,
That's so nice.
yeah, on top of that, it's actually people that are not even within the Filipino community choose to take the class because it's one of the easiest A's on campus.
No
Because,
way.
yeah, because the ates and titas are like, as long as you retake your quiz, even if you keep failing, but you like put in work, then we'll give you an A. Yeah.
That's so annoying.
But if you don't take the time to retake it, then they will, not give you, they'll give you like a B or something. But in most cases, they'll
I
give you
died.
an A.
Interesting.
Yeah, no,
That's so dumb.
I know, no, yeah. So that's why, like, in the class, there were hella Filipino folks that were taking it just for
Because
the A. Yeah.
that's so annoying. Like,
It was. I was like, y'all don't care about the culture. Like, y'all are just here to get an A.
raise your GPA.
Exactly. But the titas were so nice, so it's like obviously they're gonna let you retake it.
Of course. They're like, oh, a white person wants to learn our language. Yeah.
Okay,
Let's teach
that's
them.
pretty much, that was a lot of it for sure. But anyway, so I definitely brushed up Tagalog in college, way past the prime language learning time. But I know both of you are currently learning other languages, and would you care to share which ones you're learning and how?
Sure. I can go first. Mine's pretty basic. I'm learning Japanese through Duolingo.
Yes.
85-day streak of learning.
Damn.
Yeah, but
That's
I've used
good.
them in the past, so but
It's fine.
yeah. But I was looking for like Tagalog or anything from Duolingo, and there's not. Then it makes me so mad.
Nothing. It's so annoying. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, but yeah, Japanese.
I am also using Duolingo to brush up on languages. Love the green owl,
Oh yeah. If you want to sponsor us, let us know. Like we love you.
Come on, Duo.
Yeah, come on, Duo.
98-day streak. Thanks to Chantylle. She always reminds me. But I am learning Mandarin. Tried learning some Spanish, but I'm focusing on Mandarin because I feel like I'm losing some of it. So it's helping me just like brush up on the vocabulary, grammar, and everything like that. I also noticed there is no Tagalog or Filipino languages, which is surprising because I swear they have like Klingon on there, which makes no sense, I guess, because I get there's a lot of difficulty with Tagalog language, but it's just surprising.
Like yes.
No, yeah, you're onto something though because there are like a lot of intricacies and probably I think maybe the main issue could be that a lot of people teach it differently because of the way they learned it and the way they understood it growing up. So there's so many different ways that you can say something. But I mean, they got Klingon, a fake language.
Yeah.
So it's like, why not include a real language that, people would genuinely want to learn? And there are other apps that do offer lessons. So I'm
Yeah.
like, they can just pull from that. Like, it's not,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Rosetta Stone is another good language app, but it's not as like user friendly,
Cute.
I feel, or cute
Yeah.
as Duolingo, but
It's not as
yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
I love
Is it free too?
all the different colors.
I think they have free trials, but there are some lessons that are free. Otherwise, you might have to pay for it. Yeah.
I would love to try, but I think Duolingo is definitely my comfort zone. So going back to the languages y'all were exposed to growing up, and if any, even the languages that you're learning now, since they are kind of semi-prevalent in your lives now, do y'all feel like they influence the way you talk to people and the way you communicate with yourself as well? Also, there's that whole thing about it was like mind blowing when I was thinking about the language my mom thinks into herself
Or
and
dreams
it's
in.
and dreams in, and hers is Pangasinan, and I'm like, whoa, that's insane.
I never thought about that. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what it would be for my parents either, but I'm pretty sure English was not their first language. So, but going back to what you said about how it might influence how we communicate with others, I don't necessarily know interaction wise, but certain phrases I know growing up sounded weird because that's how my parents would say it in English, because in like Tagalog or Hokkien, it was translated that way. So like, for example, I always tell people I open my bed or like close my bed instead of making my bed, or like instead of turning on and off the light, we open the light or close the light. Just small things like that, because even in Chinese it's the same thing. But I don't know about any like specific ways we interact, at least regarding languages, may have influence. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know in particular. I think for me, it's like just certain like phrases in Filipino where you're like, oh, I don't know what the English translation would be to that because it's literally just like a Filipino phrase. Like growing up, my aunt and my mom, whenever they got scared, they always go, "Ay, upot sa langaw," and that means the fly farted. Like it literally means the fly farted. But that means when that happens, when they get like scared, you're like, "Upot sa langaw." So like, I'm like, what the heck does that even mean? Like, who came up with that phrase?
That's so funny.
God. I froze.
Oh no. Chantylle said it like a spell, and now she's frozen. Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, you're back. You're back. You're back.
I've seen it a lot, but anyway,
No, you're
that's
good.
the phrase, and then it's like, "I sus Mary Joseph," like everyone says that. And like,
Yeah.
I'm like, who? That's one of the phrases that I just use. I don't really have any like what Kevin said, like I opened the bed or something. Maybe it does, and I just don't realize it. But yeah, that was funny.
That's funny. I definitely have some like that too. I can't think of any specific phrases, but my parents like just make a lot of noises. I don't know if they mean anything, but like, or not specifically my parents, but a lot of my aunties and uncles, like when they get scared, they'll say ayot. I don't know what that means, but it's just like ayot. And then like when they say to express pain, they say aray. I don't know if that's in any other languages. Okay.
I know that one, yeah.
Yeah.
Or they say in mine, they say agay. Like
A guy. Oh,
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting. I know.
So that in my head, whenever I feel those reactions, that's what I think. I'm like, ayot. They're like,
Yeah.
ay. Yeah.
I say like aya a lot, but like, I don't know if that's even Filipino. So
Yeah. It's just Chantalle's language. It's just,
just me. Just making it up.
I definitely noticed growing up hearing a lot of Tagalog and Pangasinan. It feels like there's a bit of kind of, maybe, I don't know if this is just my immediate like family, but there's a lot of like anger and like strong emotion hidden in the words in Pangasinan and Tagalog. And I feel like learning it and being able to speak it growing up, I was more able to express emotions because of it. I don't know, a lot of like the strong emotions in my head, I feel like feel stronger when they're worded in like Pangasinan versus English. I don't know, the tone, the intonations and stuff in those languages just hit harder for me.
My mom's dad spoke a different dialect of Tagalog, and I forgot what region it was from, but she would always say whenever she told people that she can understand and speak that specific dialect, that people would be like, oh, like, because it's associated with like a lot of anger and like aggression, and so like that's what she would always say as well. So I can kind of get what you mean.
Yeah, like when I'm out in public and I hear like the Tagalog, I can like pinpoint it from anywhere. I'm like, oh, they're Filipino because I can tell by the tone. It's literally the tone.
Yes, yes.
It's just the way they're talking because they're just saying like such basic sentences, but it sounds so angry.
It sounds so
And
angry, yeah. And or like
yeah,
shady.
yeah, and
Like
I'm
they're
like, oh,
gossiping.
no, literally, I'm like, what are they talking? They're shit talking for sure. They're like,
Mm-hmm.
hello. And since my dad speaks Tagalog and my mom speaks Bisaya, I can definitely tell the different tones. Because my mom, the way she talks to her sister is like, oh no, 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 like flowy, and then my dad, it's like sharp and like quick, you know. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm,
yeah, I
mm-hmm.
can. It sounds like they're mad, like they're yelling across the house, but they're just like, let's eat or like something. So like, yeah, I can definitely tell the tone from a mile away.
Yeah. No, my sister and I, we always talk about how growing up, we can tell when our parents were talking about us. Because if it was in Pangasinan or Ilocano, it would be about us. Because it's like, it's super like, like gossipy and stuff. But like in Tagalog, like it'd just be like normal conversations and stuff. So yeah, there's definitely something in like the languages themselves where it's like, it's just a more shadier like shadier tones and whatnot. Also, there's like this whole thing that I think about a lot, how a lot of Southeast Asian languages are a bit more feminine in some ways, right? Like Tagalog sounds pretty sassy, like regardless of
Yeah.
who's using it. Like when you watch like dramas and stuff, it's very expressive, right? And then also like I have like Viet friends that tell me that they think Viet and also Thai too sounds just very feminine, like very, and so I think there's something there. I can't speak more to it, but it's just super
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I think just like the way it's spoken, like how where they put the accents when they speak,
Mm-hmm.
because everyone's like, "Oh, Tagalog's such a pretty language." I'm like, "What? Like, have you heard people speak?" But then I'm like, "Wait, have you actually heard people like have a conversation in Tagalog?" Because
Mm-hmm.
to me, it just sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like in songs that are Tagalog, it is really pretty. But I can't tell if because they're like hiding the accent, like or like lessening their tone, or if like the music helps with it. But I just found that really interesting. Like music
Yeah.
Tagalog and then speaking Tagalog is kind of like different.
Yeah, no, super different. Like you can fluctuate the way, or I guess fluctuate between emotions with Tagalog. Like it can be super soothing if you make it, but it could also be really gossipy and
Yeah,
chattery,
yeah, yeah,
and it could also
yeah.
be really angry too and stuff. So
What about you, Kevin? What about like Chinese or Mandarin? Do they have any
Oh,
like tones? You think?
I don't know about. I feel like Mandarin is just a very aggressive language.
Mm,
It just sounds aggressive. It can sound pretty as well, but I feel like compared to Tagalog, which is it derived from one of the like Latin languages, like because like Spanish, like the three romantic languages or something. I don't know, but I feel like compared to Mandarin, it's not as soothing. It always sounds
mm.
very sharp and aggressive.
mm,
It's weird because there is a non kind of colonized. I think there is a non-colonized version of Tagalog that has no Spanish words, and there's indigenous language equivalents of most Spanish words that are in Tagalog. So I'm sure that sounds a lot different from the colonized version of Tagalog that most Filipinos speak now. That may be why it can be seen as more calm, maybe because the Spanish words. But what constitutes a language as romantic? Like who said so? Because
That's true.
I can think like I watched Thai BLs and I'm like that's hella romantic.
that's hella, yeah.
Yeah.
No, definitely. That's true.
So.
Very subjective, I would
Mm-hmm,
say.
mm-hmm. I guess that kind of does tie into our next subtopic of today, which is code switching. and how there's a lot of connotations behind the words we use, and how we can be very selective with what we say and how we say it. So I just want to ask y'all, what type of code switching did y'all experience? Did you observe but also use code switching growing up, and even now too? What kind of code switching do y'all use now?
So I would say I use the most code switching at school because at home it's just me and my mom, so I can literally talk about anything to her
Mhm.
and she would know. She was like, "Oh yeah, totally." But at school growing up, like I said, I went to a majority white school. All my friends were mostly white. Kevin was there. He was one of my Asian friends with Amberlyn as well. Shout out Amberlyn. But then again, I feel like even when we interacted, it was still like very like white topics, just because we didn't know any different either, because we are still kindergarten and up. Like even in college, I still went to a majority white school, even though it was in the Bay. Like all most of my friends were like white or like half Mexican, half white, but I still didn't really touch into my Asian like roots there. I think most now after the pandemic, I had time to like think about myself and like what do I want to change that I don't like? And I wanted to tap more into my Filipino roots, and I think I'm doing that a lot more now. And now going to grad school, like half of my cohort is Filipino. So I'm like, oh my god, my people, like hello. But also in my head, I'm like, am I too white for the Filipinos? I'm like not enough. I'm not Filipino enough for the Filipinos, and I'm too Filipino for the white people. But everyone is so nice there. Like they help me learn because I'm like, I don't really know Tagalog that well. And they're like, oh, you don't know? I'm like, no, like I'm sorry, like I can't speak that well. But they're like all welcoming and they're all nice, and we all relate on stuff because some of like I know people whose family's from Bohol, which is where my dad is from. I'm like, oh my god, like a main common interest, common topic, and also like just learning about other culture too because my friends are also Viet, but mostly Filipino, so they all just like help me learn more about the culture itself too. Because growing up, I feel like I was very whitewashed, which I hate saying, but like it was so true. But now that I'm surrounded by more people that are like Asian and Filipino too, like much majority, I just feel more comfortable and I feel like I can talk about anything there. Because I kind of see it now with my white friends from high school. I like notice what topics I want to talk about. I think Kevin, we experienced this on literally last Friday because we went to Disneyland and my friend Skylar came up with us. And me and Kevin were just like talking about anime. We're like, oh yeah, this show, Chainsaw Man, is so good. Blah blah blah. I'm like, I love this character, and she's like, oh, you guys talk about anime? And we're like, oh yeah, like sorry. Like, and she just like sit there on the side. I'm like, oh god, I feel so bad, but also I just love like talking about it. It's like good and bad. I like obviously I love them, but I feel way more comfortable bringing up anything to like my Filipino friends now.
hmm No, I'm so happy that you found kind of a balance to all the worlds that you like came across, right? Because it seems like you went through a full cycle of like
Literally.
learning to code switch and then learning to cool it down, and now you don't need to as much. And yeah, no, that's super cool.
I agree. It's very similar. I mean, we did grow up basically all our lives together. So we had very similar experiences, especially grade school to high school. And I was going to bring up as well, like, because I did notice the same thing on Friday. And it was like, I felt that as well. So, I mean, we like kind of balance it out, which is nice. But yeah, still love you, Skylar, of course. Yeah. Similar as well for code switching in elementary school and still even at home. Of course, like sometimes now because of my sexuality, and then also, you know, with certain people, because unfortunately, like there's the whole like mask femme thing. I feel like depending on that, it could influence how I speak in certain things. Like when we play games, I feel like maybe sometimes I sound different than how I would in real life. So, and I don't know why, but I mean, you just kind of have that fear of like whoever's on your team, if you're with randoms, like hearing how you speak. I think the biggest one for me growing up was being surrounded in a white demographic growing up because of Orange County and being influenced by certain behaviors or interests that was cool at that time, and like being influenced by that, but then finally finding my way in college with more minorities, more people of color, more experiences. And I got to see that for myself and finally learn more about myself and others as well. What about you, Mel? How was your experience?
It's essentially like both of y'all's together combined, all of it. Yeah, I completely agree with everything. I definitely grew up in a similar way with a lot of non-Asians, and I at some point in elementary was definitely one out of like two or three of the only Asians on campus, which was insane now that I think about it. I definitely had to get into things like in terms of hobbies and interests that I wasn't already into just to fit in. And I had to find things to like seem cool to these people so that I won't be seen as that quiet Asian kid that's loves math or something, right? Which was true.
Literally.
But like I had to hide it, you know, I had to be like I had to be cool and interesting and not weird. And so I definitely a lot of that elementary and middle school, I have this thing, or I mean, I think I did mention it in the last when we answered this question in the Q&A session. But yeah, middle school had to pretend that I was a skater so that to impress the white people in my middle school because they were all skaters and that's what was cool at the time. But eventually, I found dancing, which was in my head like an Asian thing, like growing up in San Diego, within the Asian community, there was like Choreo Cookies, who were like this amazing dance crew from San Diego. And I always idolized them. And I was like, okay, maybe I can use this Asian thing to not code switch and seem cool, and like find friends through that. Because at a certain point, I was tired of code switching. Like, I don't want to be a skater. I don't want to be whatever jockey, type of person. Like I don't want to do those things. I want to do what my interests are. And so eventually I started dancing and having that be my brand in middle school. And then that's when I like gained clout or whatever. And so, yeah, it was like kind of like reverse code switching. Like instead of molding myself into like these things, after doing it for so long. So I feel as though I have gone through a full cycle as well of learning code switching and then unlearning and being more comfortable with what I do want to do. And I definitely want to emphasize on the thing you brought up, Kevin, which was basically masculine and feminine code switching. And I definitely had to navigate through that for my entire life. I want to say, I grew up in a really, really big family, lots of cousins. And so definitely had to switch into whatever, as masculine as I could be. It's very hard sometimes. I'm like, I like in my room dancing like Hannah Montana, and then I walk out with all my cousins and I'm like, oh yeah, anyway, hey guys, it was just definitely a lot of training. I felt like it was work put in to try to put on this like facade, basically. Yeah, it went down. It was like word by word. It felt like I had to code switch, not just vibe, not just what you were wearing. Like it's word for word, second by second. You can't let anything slip, because once it does, you're done. Like they're gonna get you. The bullies in elementary, they're gonna get you. Yeah.
When you brought up dancing to Hannah Montana, I remember like growing up, I don't know if Chantylle ever, I'm pretty sure I've told you, but like, Caitlin and I, my sister, would literally we had a Britney Spears CD. And it was like all her music videos or her like really old album, or one of the first albums. And we would play it on the TV and literally dance together in front of it. So yeah, I mean, but
and
then
you're
it's
like, how did you not know? At that point, you should have.
No, yeah. But yeah, we would always do that, and like that was such a core memory for me. And I like looking back, I think that's hilarious.
Wait, that's insane, because I have a literal same story. Well, not with Britney, even though my mom did have like the DVD set of like all her music videos and everything. So I'm like, you made me like this. Like it's not my fault.
You left it there.
Yeah. Anyway, but for me, my sister and I would dance to like High School Musical all the time. And so we would literally reenact Bop to the Top like move
Oh.
by move. And then I look back and I'm like, I was Sharpay. Like, how did I even need to come out to you? Like, I was literally Sharpay. Like, this is your fault, you know? But yeah, same thing. And then like we'd go see our other cousins, and I'm like, yeah. Anyway, so
Anyway, so
Yeah.
it wasn't Sharpay.
yeah, Lily Ryan. You know, yeah.
No, Kevin, do you remember in middle school when we used to call each other on our landlines? First of all, one, we would sing High School Musical to each other, and
Literally, yeah.
On the
So-
phone.
it was karaoke on the phone.
We would sing it on the landline, which is so
That's
funny
so
to me.
cute. I want that. I want what y'all have.
We don't do it anymore.
Oh my
but,
god. We'll do it later today. We'll
maybe
reenact. Oh my god, that's so funny. I forgot about that. Oh my
No,
god.
that's a core memory for me.
Yeah, we used to call each other a lot on the
all the time.
landline. I swear we played piano over the phone.
No,
Like,
and we're like, oh, you hang up first.
Ew.
But we were like, I've never liked Kevin in my whole life. I swear
oh,
to you.
that's so
I
funny.
literally saw it always platonic. I know Amberlyn liked you at one point, but I'm like, no, not me. Kevin is my
Expose her.
Exposed. No, but yeah, no, we were
that was
really,
just
really
so
close
funny.
though.
That's hilarious. I love that. That's so funny. Anyway.
Anyways,
Anyway, yeah, so as a queer male, I feel like I definitely had to do that and put in work, you know, day in, day out, playing a role. Like, where's my Oscar? You know, at this point, I
Still
deserve an
acting.
Oscar. Still, no, for
Yeah.
real. And so that's kind of my experience as a queer man. And so, Chantylle, I would like to ask you, as a woman, do you find yourself, you know, having to code switch when you're around more masculine figures, and why, if you do?
yeah, definitely. Like, I feel when I was little, I was really like a tomboy. Like, I played with all the guys, played basketball, got dirty, with like in the not the street, like the playground, what is it? The blacktop.
Mhm.
Top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now I like don't know how to talk to guys. Like, I'm just like, I don't know what to talk about to them because they're very like straight. Like what you said, Mel, you have to like pick your words to become more masculine.
Mhm.
And I don't think I'm like that masculine enough to like, or I'm not tomboy anymore to be like, oh, do you watch the sports game? Like
the
Lakers,
sports ball game.
yeah, the sports touchdown game.
Yeah.
And I had this recent interaction with someone from grad school right now, and they were telling me, oh, like after finals, they want to go to a rage room and like break stuff. I'm like, wow, like so cool. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, yeah, sure. And then they're like telling me because we have a white coat ceremony, and they're like, oh, we're gonna like pop champagne, and I was like, oh, that's so cute. And then one of the guys were like, why do all girls say, oh, that's so cute when you tell her that? And I'm like, what am I supposed to say? Like,
Yeah.
oh, that's congrats. Like,
Yes.
I'm like, what? And he's like, oh, you're supposed to say, like, let's go. Or like, hell yeah. I'm like,
They
what?
said they
Yeah, I was like,
educated you on like
Yeah.
what to say. Oh, I
was
don't like that.
I was like, I don't think I can do that. I'm so sorry. But like,
Wow.
yeah. I was
They
like,
were-
well, there goes my friendships.
No, yeah. No, it's
But,
crazy
like-
because they felt so strongly about it as
Yeah.
like to the point where they wanted to tell you what to say. Like this is
Yeah.
what you should have said.
Yeah,
That's
I'm like,
insane.
do you really see that coming out of my mouth?
Yeah. Like have you
No.
Yeah. I'm not that kind of girl.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
But
That's
yeah, like-
crazy.
It's so interesting. I can't.
Mhm. Yeah. Super male dominated. Like it was a man, right? I
Yeah,
assume.
yes.
Yeah. Okay,
Of course.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he felt so comfortable doing that. I feel like because it's such a like male dominated world. Like I feel like you don't see
Yeah.
the girls or the gays being like, no, you should say yes. Like
Yeah.
no, that you don't say let's go. Like you say yes, please.
Yeah, you
Like,
say
yeah.
perfect.
Slay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like, literally,
like-
exactly.
No. Exactly. Like I think I will start doing that now. Like if
Sure.
anyone's like, let's go, like
Like,
at
no.
a Padres game or something, I'm like, no, it's
Yeah.
yes, queen.
Yeah, you like
Yeah,
you'd be like, you should say yes.
yeah, exactly.
Me. But yeah, it was such a weird interaction. I was like, well, I'm gonna turn around now. Sorry.
Yeah, like
That's
I'm
enough
gonna
of you.
go.
How do I add on to this conversation? I can't. But
That's
yeah,
insane. Oh my
right.
gosh.
Yeah, because my
Um.
cohort is like majority women, and I
Mhm.
love it every day. I'm like, wow,
Mhm.
women. And all
Yeah.
my friends
Yeah.
say per period. I'm like, home, my home. Because it's like really
Yeah.
female dominated. I'm like, ha, take that,
Mhm.
man. But
It.
I have a question for Kevin. Like, do you find yourself code switching when you talk to the patients, or like even your doctor?
Ooh.
So I don't. So I'm a scribe, so I don't really talk to the patients.
No,
I just sit in the back typing. But I do find myself like code switching in general within the field of healthcare. Volunteering at the hospital, like some of the nurses, like super sweet. I love the nurses there, but they'll be like, "Oh, do you have a girlfriend? Oh, like, do you like? You must have like a lot of girls after you." And it's just so awkward because sometimes I don't know how they would react if they knew more about me. So it just depends. It's like I have to kind of put on this front or facade, which we've kind of been trained to do our whole lives, and just go with the flow and continue the conversation in their eyes and kind of just brush it off or like put it to the side. So definitely in the hospital, like every week whenever I volunteer, if it's brought up, I do have to put on that front of like straight.
oh,
Yeah. But
yeah.
yeah, other places not so bad. It really just depends. Do you two feel like you ever have to put on a facade at work versus like with friends and stuff like that?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's interesting because there are definitely some initiatives in place, to make the workplace a lot more inclusive. But I think regardless of whatever, and it's not always on, the company's, I guess, fault, but regardless, growing up in the culture that we do grow up in, it never feels completely safe to, be fully yourself, whether it's like being queer or being BIPOC and whatnot. Like, I feel like there's always code switching as a safety net before you can fully, it'll probably like take me a few months to fully be and act the way I want to within the workplace. And it's like a accumulation of all the stuff we've talked about in the previous episodes, like religion and stuff like that definitely plays a part in me code switching as well. It's like religion definitely was the catalyst for code switching for me. Like I wouldn't feel so pressured to code switch if I wasn't raised Catholic, because there's like deeper reasoning behind like why I need to code switch because of religion. So it's definitely going to take me a while to like unlearn all the methods of code switching that I used, but this is going to be a common topic that I bring up in this podcast, which is like queer people, in my eyes, we are people of survival. Like we are creatures of survival. Like we do everything to survive at the bare minimum. So code switching is definitely one of our tools that we have to use. And then it's like a lot of unlearning. It's like sometimes we don't need it. It's like a safety net.
I think it's just based on demographic too, which is why there's certain communities that are so, like this is the Filipino community, or like Hillcrest being the gay community, like WeHo, because you feel safer in the communities that you're familiar with and want to
Yes.
be with the people who are similar to you.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's really nice that that exists, but kind of unfortunate that it has to exist, I guess.
For sure.
So that's all we have for this episode. And now it's time for the end of podcast Q&A. So Mel, did you want to read off the question that we have?
Yes, I will read off the question. Thanks, Kev. This is from a special anonymous person that submitted a question to us. Thank you. The question is, what are your red flags? Starting with Chantylle.
Oh gosh, me. I have to like think because I really have a lot of. I'm really picky. So I think if he talks like condescending to me, obviously that's like a no go. Like a guy who thinks he's too full of himself, I hate that. Like he's good looking, but he knows. So he thinks like all the women love him or all the guys love him. Another one where it's like where he like mansplains. Oh, I hate mansplaining. Like please. You can explain it to me, just don't give me that condescending tone because I'm open to learning new things, but just don't make it seem like I'm dumb because I don't know
Mhm.
it. I don't know what else, like meaning to waiters, being mean to their family. If he's an Andrew Tate, that's a red
Mhm.
flag.
Oh, huge red flag.
100%.
Yes, so there. That's how I can explain it.
Um, red flags, red flags. I only see green. I'm just kidding.
No, I'm colorblind.
I think I attracted to red flags, but I think that some are.
That's your red flag.
That's
You
my
just
red
answered
flag.
it yourself. Yeah.
No, but like again, like you said, ego, no respect. Like I feel like you need to have respect, just like not for your family, but also just in general for others. And I feel like a lot of people say, I don't know why people say this, but actually I kind of do know why. But having a lot of mutuals is a red flag for people, which we can go into that later in a different episode. But I get why it's a red flag, but I feel like it shouldn't be. Communication, I feel like you need to be really good at communicating as much as I've had to learn how to be better at that. But yeah.
I the one that Chantylle brought up, which was the being rude to family, that's a huge one for me. But I think even more so, like if you have just your own family issues and that's on you, but if you're mean to my family or my friends, that's huge. Like I will cut you off immediately. And I will cut you off. Like when I say I will cut you, it's for real. Like I will not talk to you again. So that's like a huge one for me. I was debating on bringing up the mutual one, but I was like, I don't know how I would explain it either. But I mean, I think it's a pretty understandable one.
Yeah, having mutuals is something to consider, just to be aware of. But it's not
Mhm.
necessarily like something you should have a predisposed image or opinion of this person already that you maybe haven't even met yet or gotten to know.
Yeah, that I think, yeah, you're definitely onto something because it's a indicator that there's something that you can kind of look into. Like you can kind of figure out if you have these mutuals because you have a history with a bunch of these mutuals or if you just know them. And so it can be something to talk about, not necessarily like a straight red flag.
Mhm.
But yeah, I get it. Like it's more of like a alert, like a check engine emoji that I have in my car.
Yeah, but you just ignore those, right?
Exactly. Because it goes away sometimes, and I'm like, okay,
Oh, it's fixed.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Oh,
Yeah.
look, good to go.
Yeah. Good to go. All right. It's like, yeah, for me, it's one of those, not necessarily a red flag. Another one is if they play League. League or Valorant.
No, but actually.
They play
Yeah.
League, but not Valorant.
Yeah, okay, League but not Valorant, they're built different. I want to say there is something there. I feel like that they might have issues, just saying. Through my extensive research, I think it's safe to say League players are something else. I don't have any like clear ones though, because I think I like to investigate before I like can immediately judge. But definitely like if I know that you are just mean to like your own family or my family or like my close loved ones, then yeah, no. That's a no. So going back the other way around, if you want to answer, I'd like to ask what are your own personal red flags? And I'll start. I play Valorant. So that's that can be one. Yeah, I think yeah. I don't know. I'm like that's all I'd like to say for now.
Yeah, I don't know. I think my biggest thing, I don't know if it's a red flag maybe, but I sometimes take a long time to text back a reply.
Okay, yeah, me. Yeah.
But, like,
No, that's good.
Life gets busy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just too lazy to respond. Like,
Yeah.
that's my issue. That's my red flag, partly.
Mhm.
I like
Mhm.
see it, but I'm like, I can't talk to you right now. Like, I'm too
Yeah.
tired to do it.
Take your time though. That's
Okay, that like can get into the whole discussion of people who don't respond because when they do respond, it's very like emotionally involved and like you really do want to have a good response, so that's why you wait.
Hmm.
I want to say that's me in most cases. I'm like, I want to emotionally and mentally have a fully fleshed out message rather than just hey, or like, yeah, I'm good,
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a red flag. I don't know, maybe we're all fine, we don't have any red flags.
Yeah.
True.
That's a red flag. We don't think we have red flags.
Our red flags. Ooh, another red flag. We have a podcast. Dang it.
Oh,
That's a red
Men
flag.
with their podcast.
Exactly. I'm a man who has a podcast. That's my But on that note, thank y'all for listening to our podcast.
thank you for listening.
Yes. And we hope you enjoyed and hope to see y'all at the next one.
If you have
Cool.
any questions, again, please submit.
Yes, please.
bit.ly/the QA subs.
Yes, and follow us on Instagram at the QA Podcast and DM us a question or comments or anything if you so desire. We are there to listen to you. We're here for you. All right. Thank y'all for listening.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yes, of
Thank
course.
you, Chantylle, for joining.
Bye.
Bye.